So, Julia, you're the founder and chief executive of Editorial Intelligence, that's right,
I am,
isn't it?
yes, yes.
Can you just explain a little bit about what Editorial Intelligence actually does?
Well, one of the things we do is keep track on what the commentators are saying in print and online, what we call the commentariat and the blogatariat. We do that, first of all, through monitoring quite closely who is saying what, putting out special reports. We've just created the Comment Awards, which are going to be inaugurated in a couple of weeks to celebrate the finest in print and online of the commentators. So part of what we do is take that slice of the media that we think is particularly influential and analyse it. We are also really an opinion former business in that we facilitate discussions between interested parties talking about the issues of the day. And we run a club, really, a club such as the one you spoke at this morning, for people across politics, business, media, academia to come and talk frankly about what's on their mind.
Yeah. So, I've been to a few of your events. I think this is the third one. Obviously, as you said, I just spoke at this one now. How do you decide who comes to the events that you hold, and kind of the makeup of the audience and the people who speak, that kind of thing?
There are two kinds of events that Editorial Intelligence tends to put on, other than special events like we have what's been dubbed a British Davos called Names Not Numbers, that takes place in the seclusion of Portmeirion every February.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, but our standardised club events, there are 30 or so a year, and they are either panel events, a little bit like political party conference fringe events, without, dare I say it, the hell of having to fight through 50 events in a single evening. So they are traditional panel debate discussion topics. We held one on the future of the Quango called Bonfire of the Quangos, which we did with Policy Exchange and Policy Review TV and Cass Business School, and then we had one recently with BBC Global News on the pandemic. So those are sort of pretty traditional people on a panel being chaired in front of an invited audience. What you've participated in this morning is something that we call our Thought for the Day breakfast, where we invite two speakers, you were one, Zach Goldsmith was one, to talk about what's on their mind, and then we moderate a discussion with members of our club, usually about 20-30 people at a time. And it's interesting, there always seems to be a consensus of views about what really is preoccupying people. What was interesting to us this morning was that people did not, in fact, want to talk about what had happened last week at the Lib Dem conference, what had happened this week at the Labour Party conference, or indeed what might happen at next week's Conservative Party conference. What they wanted to talk about was big theme ideas about what moves people in the media and what moves people towards environmentalism. So that's a very long answer. The shorter answer to your question about who do we pick, we try and keep tabs on who's doing interesting things. We try to have a mixed economy, if you like, of very well-known leading figures in politics and business and media and academia, with people that are arguably operating in a more niche environment. And what interests us are people that have interesting things to say, and that includes the audience as much as the people speaking formally.
Yeah. One of the things that we were talking about this morning, that kind of I did my little 5-minute thought for the day on at the start, was the future of newspapers and how it relates to the blogosphere and social media. And I know that that's something that you have quite interesting views on. I listened to the podcast of the event that you did a few months ago, which was basically about, I think it was referencing the fourth estate and what the future was likely to hold. And you had some interesting things to say about social media and Twitter. Out of pretty much everyone that I heard speak, you seem to get it the most. Is that because you maybe spend quite a lot of your time involved reading the blogs on Twitter, and you just kind of, you've got it like that, or did you get it kind of straight away as soon as you saw it?
In a previous life, I ran a PR firm, and one of my clients more than 12 years ago was a company called Online Magic, which my brother started, which was one of the first internet businesses in the UK. In fact, Online Magic went on to run GE97, the first interactive general election site, which the BBC then, I am told, did quite a lot of their modelling for subsequent general election coverage on. So I had an early in to social, to the internet, and I then remained interested in, if you like, multi-dimensional media. And because I've watched the media very closely, I have an academic post as Professor of Public Relations at the London College of Communication. I feel it's my obligation to keep an equality of perspective about all different forms of emerging media. I don't think that there is an adversarial ranking that print media is better than online media, that citizen journalism is inherently worse than paid-for journalism. What I do think quite strongly is that trusted brand journalism, as epitomised by the brand voice of a Mark Reckon's blog or a Guido or an Ian Dale, is as important as a media brand like The Times or The Economist or The Guardian, and that the citizen journalist is always going to be most valuable for news reporting, that the comment that in a way binds the arguments in society together is going to remain very important, and that arguably that you have to trust that voice and know that voice very well in order to seek it out, whether it's paid for content or not. You know, the dynamics of media content is a separate argument, but I think trusted brand voices in media, whether it's social media, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's a Twitter, is all to do with a kind of authenticity and a validity that people choose in their media.
And what do you think will happen with newspapers? I mean, I was talking about 5, 10, 20, 50 years. I guess it's very difficult to tell what's going to happen that far ahead, but how do you see things panning out in, say, the next 5 years?
Well, I started my career in book publishing, and of course people have been predicting the demise of the book for a very long time. I think that technology is not the only enemy of the future of the printed word. I think it's to do with the increasingly fragmented attention and, if you like, split screen personality that people bring to the way they consume media. So I think that there are issues about revenue generations, clearly, and I think that to some extent they will begin to work online. Yes, search links are going to drop, such as you said. You know, if you talk to people at the Daily Mail online, which is, I think, one of the most successful online brands in Britain for newspapers, they are absolutely adamant at the moment that they're not going to go to a paid-for model. But I think, first of all, that the Murdochs are clearly not to be underestimated, and I think that they will, in some shape or form, make it work. I think the paid-for model is beginning to work with, say, the Financial Times. I think the point is more what kind of information in what kind of platforms do the public want over the coming years. What do I think over the next 5 years? I think arguably some of the main newspapers, you know, the future of the Independent is in doubt. I'm pleased the Observer has been saved. I think it's been absorbed back into the big Guardian Media Group fold, but I think it will be a much smaller organ. But I think that print media in this country is still going to have a strong marketplace, just a different revenue stream.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Julia.